So as you saw, Trump has basically picked only Zionists and Israel shields in his new cabinet, in his new administration. And as much as this is very disappointing, and as much as you should complain about this, and as much as you should be sad and angry at Trump, this was expected. And today we will talk about this because this is very important. Actually, I have not been critical of Trump. I don't think I've ever criticized him. I don't think I've ever, been harsh on him to some degree. Because I only talked about his campaign and all those sorts of things and the race. And obviously Trump is better than Kamala, at least that's my opinion. But we need to talk about this because this is very important. And this is the kind of video which is generally gonna get me in trouble. It's not gonna be videos about feminism or videos about LGBTQ or videos about transsexuals. This is the kind of stuff that gets you in trouble. The other stuff is just soft. This is the real stuff. But I feel that Trump is the closest we have ever gotten to having a nationalist in charge of a country. And I believe in nationalism. I believe in a degree of nationalism, which doesn't mean believing in Nazism and fascism. But in spite of this, in his second administration, he's basically, other than the border czar and other than Musk and Ramaswamy and maybe Tulsi Gabbard, he's only picked Israel shields, he's only picked Zionists. And by the way, I'm not going to talk about the Israel-Palestine conflict because I know nothing about it. I genuinely know nothing about it. If I knew something, I would talk about it. But it's interesting that Trump has only been picking these folks despite knowing very well that those are Israel shields, despite knowing very well that these people are not interested in America. They are Israel first, not America first. They are making Israel great again, not making America great again. So in spite of his experience, in spite of knowing exactly who's a loyalist, who's a nationalist, and who's a patriot and who's not, he still picked the Israel shields. Why is that? So we have to understand two things. So as I said at the beginning of this video, you people voted for him. I didn't vote for him because I wasn't in the US, but I would have voted for him. You have to be angry at this. You have to be like, what the fuck are you doing? You have to be like this. It's correct. I'm not saying it isn't. But we should actually look at the bigger picture. Because if Harris had won, the same thing would have happened. I think she would have even been worse. Because with Trump, we get somebody who's obviously pro-Israel, which isn't a problem, by the way, but the problem is when you put Israel above America, if you are the president of the United States. This is unacceptable. You have to be a nationalist. You have to put your country first. You have to be a patriot. You cannot put any other country over your country. It doesn't matter if it's Israel, it doesn't matter if it's Palestine, it doesn't matter if it's Italy, Greece, Spain. It's America first, not another country first. That's the way it works. That's the way it should be at least. But it looks like that regardless of who wins, regardless of, as I said, the person who wins the presidency, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, all the time Zionists run the US, lobbyists, people which are part of the Israel elite. It's always the same stuff. So we need to look at the bigger picture and we need to be non-emotional about this. And I am very sad about this, guys, because I am a big supporter of Trump. I'm still a big supporter of him. And especially living in a foreign nation, I do understand that this win is a cultural win. On top of, more than a political win, this is a cultural win. Like, we can make jokes again without being called Nazis. Like, isn't this great? We can make jokes again. This is fantastic. Regardless of the way Trump governs, which is not going to be great, I believe. This second term is going to be a repeat of his first term. The exact same stuff, without COVID maybe. Which isn't bad, by the way. It's not that bad. It's not like it's shit. But it could be so much better, given that it has all the freaking majority. But why isn't it so much better? And I'll tell you why. The reason is very simple. The people in charge of America, the people in charge of the free world, are the lobbyists, are the Zionists, the Israel shields, the Jewish elite, the Israel elite. That's who's in charge. If you look at things, that's who's in charge. Because Trump knows exactly who's good and who's bad. He knows all of them. Why has he picked Israel shields? His donors, his biggest donors, people who have given him hundreds of millions of euros, of dollars, are Zionists. It's all about making Israel great. And why is that? I'll tell you a little secret. If Trump only appointed patriots, nationalists, loyalists, so what Trump should have done in order to try to avoid not getting in power and having elections rigged should have been this. He didn't have the election rigged, which is great. Or at least his election. The other ones I don't know. But, so he should have campaigned and be a Zionist, basically. That's what they did, more or less. I mean, he should have said, okay, Israel is great, make Israel great again, blah, 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 blah. And then he should have appointed, now, loyalists and America First patriots. He didn't do the latter. Why? Because if he did that, he would get killed. As simple as it gets, guys. I am very straightforward about this. You need to understand that there is somebody, and this is very scary again, because America is the most free country in the world, so to say. And in spite of all of this, the president of the United States, the president-elect of the United States, is still ruled by somebody who is the Zionists, the lobbyists, the neocons, the Jewish elite. That's who runs the US, really. That's basic. And you don't need much evidence to understand this. You don't need much, quickness. You don't need anything. You just need to see things. Trump is Trump is the most nationalistic, patriotic, America First president and person who's ever run. Maybe, possibly, or at least who's been a major party candidate. In his first term, he didn't know people, so he just trusted people in his gut. And of course, he made many mistakes. But now this is his second term. And I'll tell you one thing. In his first term, the reason why they let Trump even get to the final, to the presidential race, the only reason why they let him be the nominee was because, okay, this guy is never going to win. So we won't have to deal with this nationalist. He won, but he didn't know the people. So he didn't pick the best guys. We saw that clearly. Now it's his second round. People know he might win, so people are actually scared by it. I'm talking about the people around the world, not the normal people, us, the average guys. And he still picks Zionists. I don't think Trump's stupid. I don't think Trump is kind or this. I don't think Trump is like, I'll give you a second chance. I think Trump is the kind of guy who says, fuck you, you're bad, I hate you, you're fired, get out of the way, we don't want you. He is that kind of guy. But then he appoints folks like Marco Rubio, little Marco. Then he appoints Israel Shields. Then he appoints people who are not America First. You cannot hire anybody who is not America First. You cannot, because if you're not America First and you're in charge of America, you are a foreign influence. I think I've said basic stuff here. I don't think I've said anything remotely offensive in any way, shape, or form. If you're gonna put the interests of another country over the interests of the country you're running, you can go F yourself and leave. That's the way it should be. Having said all of this, we need to talk about also this issue. As I said, Trump is not stupid. Trump is I think he's smart. He's not stupid. He's not that stupid, even if you think he is. But the reason why he's been doing this, I didn't post this on YouTube. I posted this on Instagram. Follow me there, by the way. And I said something like, I hope that Trump baits the establishment and manages to get patriots without them knowing they're patriots. I hope he manages to do something like that. Because he's never going to be able to appoint in broad daylight loyalists and nationalists without getting killed or thrown out of power. They tried to kill him despite being super pro-Israel. Imagine if he had been the nationalist. He would have already been dead by now. And this is the kind of stuff which is scary. Because let's think about this. There is nobody on earth who has ever tried to genuinely serve the people. Nobody on earth. So we have these leaders of these countries, and we also have the leaders of the so-called free world, which is Western civilization. So we talk about America mainly, and also we talk about Europe, Western Europe. And in spite, Putin said this and he said something very smart. He said, like, I've been through 3 US presidents and all of them come with great ideas, but none of them gets them done. And that's because of the many that with the dark suits, with the briefcases, when they come and they tell them how things are done, presidents get nothing done. There is somebody behind. And that's clear. That's clear. We see the patterns which are clear. We see it. We see it all day. If Democrats win, it's Zionists, Israel shields, and neocons who are in charge. If Republicans win, it's the same. If Trump, who I wouldn't consider to be a Republican, or at least a normal Republican, wins, we still get Israel shields. Why the hell is that? It is because those people run the country. And if you don't obey what they say, you were never going to be president. You will get thrown out. They will discard you. That's the way it functions, unfortunately. And I think it's important to understand this. It's important to be aware of this. I have been a big fan of Trump, and I am a big fan of Trump. Don't get me wrong. I think he's smart. More than smart, I think he's funny. And I think he's a great guy, and I happen to support him, and I happen to like him heavily. And I still like him heavily. I knew this was going to happen. I knew this might have happened. I was hoping it wouldn't happen, but I'm not naive. But I also have to be intellectually honest, and I also have to be honest with my audience. I cannot tell you that this new administration is great and we're going to get things done. Trump's not going to get much done. I don't think he will. And guys, if I were to be wrong, if I were to be completely naturally wrong and Trump were to do everything he said, I would be like, Trump, you're a G, love you. I'll be the first one, and actually I'm cheering on him. But it's not going to happen, I think. Because we have people who are putting Israel first. And this is unacceptable. This is not anti-Semitism. If anybody calls me anti-Semitic, you have your right to do that, and I don't care. But if you're going to call me anti-Semitic for saying that that a president of a country, in this case the United States, shouldn't put any other country's interests first, you are simply wrong. I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm just stating that nationalism and putting your country first is what you should be doing. It could have been any other country. It could have been Palestine. It could have been Lebanon. It could have been Italy, Greece, whatever other country you could potentially imagine. You have to be in charge of your country. You have to put your people first. Trump, in spite of being probably a nationalist, or at least in spite of wanting to be a nationalist, and I'm not justifying this, he speaks of being bad, and he knows they're bad, so there is no justification for this. Absolutely not, no justification. I'm not trying to justify him. I'm criticizing him. I'm very clearly criticizing him, and this is a video which I maybe should have made. And maybe some of you guys who are MAGA fans, but guys, I'm not in a cult. That's the thing. I'm not in a cult where, regardless of what a person does, I'm gonna accept that. No, I'm not gonna do that. I wanna be intellectually honest with me. I want to be honest with God, and I want to be honest with you guys. That's what's important to me. I cannot sit here and say that you speak great people. I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm going to be honest with you. I think his picks have been bad. The only great picks have been the Border Star, amazing pick, no doubt about it. And then the other thing was that he didn't include Pompeo and Nikki Haley. Warmongers wouldn't want them. But in spite of all of this, all the other picks have been trash. All of them. All of them. And the reason for that is because if you don't obey the elites, you get screwed. It's that simple. The biggest example is JFK. Now, I'm not going to talk about Jews with JFK because I've got no clue, and I'm not attacking Jews. I'm not attacking anybody other than the elites, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their origins. I'm just stating some, I think, pretty normal things. I'm not saying anything so outlandish, I believe. But JFK said, I think it was like a couple of days before getting shot, there is a plot to enslave all Americans, and I intended to expose it before leaving the office. He said something like that. I'm gonna show you the quote. He must have said something like that. And a couple of days afterwards, he got shot. Like, It is clear there was somebody there. It is clear. There is no doubt about it. And we need to understand this. And we need to understand that unfortunately there is somebody running, there is somebody who's above us. And when you get into power, and when the people with the briefcases and when the people with the dark suits arrive, they tell you how things are done and you get nothing done. That's the way it works. And as sad as it is, and you should be angry at Trump, and I am angry at Trump, this is the way it works, and this is the way things are run. Last but not least, I want to finish this video with this one. When it comes to Trump, I hope he can do great things, and I hope he can carry out the mass deportation at least. I hope he can do that. I hope it's not only the deportation of criminals, murderers, rapists. He needs to deport every person who has entered the country illegally, because those are criminals. I'm going to say something controversial here, but it's just truth. It is just truth. And this is just factual. This is not an opinion, this is a fact. Every person who invades a country legally, crosses a border of a country legally, is a criminal, because that's illegal. It's like entering, it's like bumping into somebody else. Like, is that legal? That's not legal, that's illegal. So crossing the southern border is illegal, and all people who have crossed the southern border illegally should be deported. And if you talk about families being separated, what should happen is that, okay, you can deport the families together too. It's that simple, like the new border star said. In one of the best clips I've ever seen. I mean, he said something spectacular there. He's a great pick, but the other guys, Israel Shields and neocons. And I'm very sad that this is the case, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, guys. Trump can't go in, they're not gonna let him. And this is the biggest waste of American force in history. And this is very sad. It's a cultural win, it's the biggest cultural win in the last 50 years, no doubt about it. But you need to understand this. Let's not talk this about Trump. He is obviously pro-Israel, which doesn't bother me. I don't care. It's not a problem. So now I'm a big fan of Trump, in spite of the fact that he's hired and chosen neocons and Israel Shields and Zionists in his administration. In spite of this, I'm still a big fan of the guy. I like his policies. He's great. But if Trump were to support the escalation of a conflict in the Middle East, so Israel going to war with Iran, and if he were to support Israel by giving them billions and billions of weapons, I'm going to say fuck Trump with no problem whatsoever, because I don't support warmongers. And even if he did that, it would still be better than Harris, because if the war with Iran were to start with Trump, if the war between Israel and Iran were to start under Trump, it would have started also under Harris. And Harris has gotten even worse policies than Trump. But if he were to be if he were to become a warmonger, because he's not been a warmonger, like the thing I like the most about Trump is that he's not been a warmonger. I love that about the guy. But if he were to support the escalation of this conflict, and if he were to support the assassination of civilians, whether they're Palestinians or Israelis, he's gonna lose me. Like, I tell it like it is, he's gonna lose me. I'm not in a cult, and being in a cult is never good. Never good. I'm not MAGA regardless of everything. No. I am a rationalist. I happen to support Trump for XYZ reasons, but when he fucks up, I say it. And if he were to support wars and those sorts of things, I would call him out, and I would say no more. I don't like you anymore. I don't like warmongers. I don't like warmongers. You can be funny, you can have aura, you can be great, but I don't like warmongers. I happen, to don't like them. I don't think it's strange. I don't like warmongers. And the reason why I think so highly of Trump is because he's not been a warmonger. And I have praised him for that. No war started, and if he manages to end two conflicts and prevent any new conflict from breaking out, props to the guy. Love him. The G. If he were to start a war, if he were to support, the assassination of civilians, I'd be the first one to condemn it. I'd be the first one to distance myself. More than distance myself from Trump, I'd be the first one to say, okay, guys, I cannot lie about this. This is unacceptable. Warmongers are not my thing. Bye-bye. I hope it doesn't happen, but I've been very critical of Trump in this video. The first time I've ever been as critical as I've been this time. But it's important that we tell the things like they are, and it's important that we are intellectually honest. We need to be honest with ourselves. We cannot lie, and we cannot say that Israel shields and neocons and Zionists are great pigs. We cannot do that. We can never do that, and we will never do that. And I will never stop fighting to have nationalists, to have nationalism, patriotism, and all of these great things in charge of our beautiful Western countries. I hope you're with me. And if you're with me, subscribe and let me know it.